Hello, I'm Dean Zaris, founder and CEO of ClearFactr. So today we're going to talk in this video, the second of a series of product videos, about some of ClearFactr's analytics that you won't find anywhere else, as we say over here, allowing you to build smaller yet more powerful models effortlessly, saving the gymnastics for the gym. So without further ado, let's get into the product here. I had already logged in a previous session, and we're going to be presented with our model browser with all the different models. I'm going to search for the one that I want to open for this demo, and our trusty sales forecast model. And we'll blow up the screen just a little bit. There we go. So again, first time experience with any spreadsheet, you don't know what you're looking at. So let's get ClearFactr to help explain this. So we've got a bunch of forecasted sales numbers by region with expenses like commissions and cost of goods sold and rent and so on. Those are all created through these green formula cells over here. And we're going to focus in on how this accumulated P&L over here is created and what affects it. So we can use the cell ancestry tool to sort of dive into that a little bit. So there's one generation of parents and an immediate child cell. Here's two generations, now 3, 4. And at 4, we notice the commission rate over here, currently at 50%, controls all the rest of this model. Now, a classic situation would come up where the creator of the model wants to tell the audience how the whole model is sensitive to the commission rate. And they might, in a typical legacy spreadsheet, take this portion of the model and sort of park it in one place and then make a copy of it somewhere else and change some things and then do a diff between them. And they're great modelers, so eventually they get it to work perfectly, beautifully. But they've probably done at least a tripling of the model in both size and complexity, and therefore making it 3 or more times easier to break somewhere down the road or harder to remember how they did it, 29 models later. So we took that whole exact situation and we built this tool, well, one of several, around that situation. So a little help panel, we'll get rid of that. So what if we just applied all the default values? What if we applied a 10% change to the commission rate? What would happen? So this happens. So we get a 55 now instead of a 50. That's the yellow cell. Commissions go up, as makes sense. And because we're paying more commissions, the net and accumulated P&L goes down. If we want to see additional views of that, we can do it like this. Here's the new value, or the difference in the values, the new values minus the old values. Again, accumulated P&L going down. And lastly, this one is particularly interesting, the normalized view in percentages. So we've got that 10% change. That makes sense across all the commissions. But notice in the P&L numbers, we've got something like this in the darkest red, the largest, in this case, negative change. 20x, a little more than 20x downward in response to the commission rate for whatever reason. And the whole point is that this tool would allow you to find stuff like this that you might otherwise never find. And as we said on the webpage, effortlessly, without any coding, without embedding any kind of crazy if statements and conditionals and all kinds of other complexity into your model. Now, something else to call out in this situation, unlike something like Google Sheets, where if multiple people were here in the same model at the same time, in this case, we could have 10 different people in the model all at the same time, and all could be fooling around with the same tool, applying different commission rates or changing other things, all changing the numbers downstream, and no one would step on each other. ClearFactr, we never want to take temporary values or things that are being generated by the analytics, and we don't just simply instantly broadcast them to everyone. Everyone gets their own private work area. In future videos, we'll explain that even further, but for now, just keep that in mind. Now, if we can consider what we've just done as a one cell scenario change, where in fact, if we had wanted to save it, we can't. This is, truly a temporary kind of view. What if we wanted to change more than one cell? And what if we wanted to save our work? Well, that is our scenario tool. So our scenario tool in this case has cataloged all the different scenarios that have been created either by hand or as a result of doing Monte Carlo simulations, which again will be another video. We can pick any one of these particular scenarios and open it up. And I should have called out the number you might remember before. That was 191,000. It's now 262,000. Well, how did that happen? Well, if we want to explain the differences between those things, we can select it again, select the latest version of the model, and then, as you're probably guessing, run a comparison. And so now you'll see that this scenario contains a few changes. They're highlighted in red and green. This one's red because the commission rate now in this scenario was made to be 40 instead of 50. Cost of goods sold rounded off now at 13 or 12 and a half. Specifically, it was 9. And this check over here suddenly became bad instead of good. But how do these actual scenario changes ripple through the model? Well, we can see that right here. So somewhat like the sensitivity analyzer before, we're not noodling with any of the sales numbers. That's why we have a bunch of zeros up here. But that lower commission rate, again, reduced all the commissions. We're paying less commissions now, so the opposite of the situation before, the net P&L is up. One of the coolest things that you can do with this tool is, besides all the collaboration that it fosters and so on, imagine now the scenario creator and the owner of the model get into some conversation. They discuss the commission rates and the cost of goods sold and other things. And by the way, you can change business logic in the model as well, formulas and so on. But imagine you get into that conversation and you decide, you know what were we thinking? Paying 50% commission, 40 is more reasonable. So we'll bring up the merge tool. And with the merge tool, I'll just sort of park that over here. We can say, yeah, what were we thinking? Let's take the 40% commission and merge it into the latest version of the model. So yes, I really want to do that. And now, as we see, we only have one difference left. And a couple of things are worth drilling into at this moment. From this very moment, the latest version of the model now has the 40% commission rate instead of the 50. That means any additional user or API-driven process will be driven by that 40% rate instead of the 50. Also, keep in mind that this was done completely through the user interface, meaning the web app. And if people, a team, the audience of the model had decided, yeah, we want to actually do more than just change the commission rate. We want to change some formulas, some business logic, and so on. And if there were other processes being run downstream through the API, driven by this model that you can see and so on, by doing a new merge like this, you're effectively doing a software release, because again, that process downstream is now going to be controlled by that 40% commission rate plus any other business logic changes that you may have made. And we did this in, as you saw, seconds, without finding the dev team and so on, without that release cycle that you'd be lucky to get it done in a day, maybe a week, perhaps several weeks. Instead, teams of people can manage those processes directly from the user interface like this in a completely controlled and auditable way. If we get out of the scenario tool for a second and we can just take a look, here's the history, narcissist view again, me, making all the changes. But if there was an audience around this model with many people, you'd see their names, hear all the times. And lastly, at scale, rolling this up, here is the version that we just created, as it says 2 minutes ago. And the tool automatically describes exactly what happened. So all of the auditors, compliance, risk managers, and so on can monitor the process. And I could have called out at the beginning from the dashboard, this merge feature that we just used is heavily permissioned. So again, it's not like people are going to be doing this willy-nilly. So I hope you enjoyed this, hope you found it useful, and stay tuned for more videos.